Hello, the game has started. It's my opponent to go first. I have, well, it looks fairly bingo-y, but I'm not seeing a 7 jump out at me. I would have Stocious through an S. And although the U is a non-bingo-y tile, I do have the OUS and IOUS ending. Okay, so let me consider the floaters. Not seeing anything with the O. How about the R? That's probably the most likely. And I've also got the out prefix. Not seeing anything with the R. How about the A? No, there could be something here. I'm not seeing it. I have the auto prefix. No. Okay, well, how to sort this rack out? I certainly need to play off O and U. I don't need to play anything else off. Where can I do that? I'm thinking about playing OU here, but it sets up a really hot spot, in particular for the Z, and that's only 8 points. I think it's worth sacrificing 4 points for a slightly safer positioning. This is not a great rack lead, but it's not a terrible one either. I'm going with this. Well, that looks a little closer to a bingo, but do I have one? No E. Well, I'm not seeing a 7, and the only floater at the moment is, well, the limited number of tiles on the board. Not seeing anything with the A. How about the R? Well, I've blocked ricottas, but I do have citators and OUS. Fantastic. Quite a strong likelihood of that being blocked. Aura takes a D and an L at the end. So if opponent plays in column 9, citators remains available. And OU may also attract opponent because it has a number of front hooks. And again, a column 4 play would leave my bingo alone. So supposing citators is blocked, I'm still wondering if there is a 7 with this rack. It's possible. It looks very balanced and very bingo-y. And does citators and ricottas have a third anagram? Always hard to be certain, because whenever you are certain, there's a risk every 5 years when a new word list comes along that an addition will be made. OU takes fantastic. Opponent does use one of the aura hooks. Citators remains available. And nothing better on offer. And that's a pretty poor pickup. 6 vowels. So I may be changing unless I can get good value from the K. And that good value is going to include jettisoning some vowels. Well, I do. Right now I have AUK and AUK in row J for over 30 points. I'll be keeping 4 vowels, but that's a price worth paying for a score that high. My K can go in front of the Y, but I don't have a 6-letter play. It would be nice to play off more vowels than just the 2. Now, one option would be retaining the K and playing UOI, which I can do in column 10 for a decent score. And that would leave KOA, not a terrible rack leave. What else is available on this board? Any other long vowel plays? UE not available. Well, opponent plays in my IO spot, which means I don't have a difficult choice, because the only other candidate play I considered was AUK. However, let me give some thought now as to whether there's a better option. Kuia is good, keeping EOO, and that does play, making a yock. Let me see what this scores. 26 points, keeping EOO. 36, keeping AEIO. I'm going to go with the higher score. Wow, nice pickup. Always a pleasure to see the blank. And when you've got one of the high-scoring tiles, the really high-scoring tiles, it's certainly useful to have vowels. So pretty much any J play is going to leave a decent rack leave. But do I have a bingo with this rack? Quite a few floaters to consider. I'm not seeing a 7. Nothing with the C, I, T, or A. So I'm not seeing a bingo. Alk does take a J, so I have Jow in column 3. Yo takes nothing in front, so column 8 at the bottom, triple word square, not available. Double lane in row E. But I don't think playing the blank in that spot for anything other than a bingo is going to be optimal. Or he takes an L and an S. Great, opponent changes, which means my Jow spot remains available. Do I now draw 4 consonants? That's 37 points, which is good. I could play Gay-Jo in the same spot for slightly less, but a different rack leave. EI blank, I think EG blank is better. And given that I have the blank, I'd like the board to stay wide open, and this A next to a double word square may invite opponent to play in row L, and I'll get my 9 timer down. I think that's the way things are going to pan out. So I have weigher and reweigh, pre-weigh onto a P. Nowhere for any of those. But this looks pretty good. I have weighed as well. Nowhere for that. So is waiter good? Well, I have weighted through the T, so I do have a bingo playable at the moment. What else do I have? Nothing ending in S or with an L. I think weighage is good through a G or an A. Now, that's not a double-double, but do I have a double-double? Let me squiz through the alphabet, keeping in mind an additional A. That's weighed as a 7. Not seen anything so far. That's the ing ending. Some of these look close to a bingo, but I'm not seeing one. Wow, lovely bingo by opponent. And that, well, there are 2 spots for weighted, so I do still have a bingo in row F. Everate takes an L in front. I don't have one of those. Has opponent created any new spots? I don't think so, and this does get the W and the H tripled, so it's pretty good. Weighted for 80. And I draw an L for front hooking Everett's. And this doesn't look too far off a bingo. I've got the FUL ending, I've got the UN prefix. Slightly fewer floaters on the board now. I have anti-flu through the A of Jow. Not a bingo, but it turns over tiles, and there's not very much worth hanging on to here. And I have a 100-point lead, and there's still one blank to come. So, column 1, I have full for over 30 points. That remains available. I don't consider this M to be massively dangerous, and I can't see anything great through it. So what about Flum? Keeping Lint. Lint isn't great. 27 points. Anti-Flu has been taken out. This is a better score and a nicer rack leave. I'm going with this. I have Thinner on my rack. Not sure that plays anywhere. And I'm not seeing anything else. But opponent may be tempted to play across from the M and create a new lane. Supposing he doesn't, I've got a 130-point lead, so I'm in reasonable shape, but still 40 tiles to come. And this is quite an open board. Still 2 S's and a blank to come. Column 11, a bingo lane for bingos ending in S. I don't think Thinner has an anagram. So do I have anything through the M should opponent not use that spot? Well, I have Meath, but that wrecks the rack, keeping RNN. And it places an I underneath this triple letter square with the X to come. Alk only takes an S, so row K not massively hot. Now, my N can go after Yo, and that would take out the bingo lane in column 11. So, what do I have there? I have 9th, but that's not good, stopping 1 square short of row O. And likewise, were I to play that in row K. Great. Well, great in that opponent has created a new lane, but not so great that Thinner doesn't play. Am I absolutely sure there's no bingo lane on this board I've overlooked? No. I think it does mean that 9th is safer, because opponent can't bingo with an S hook. This rack leaves quite good. I'm turning over tiles. I'm scoring over 20 points. It doesn't feel great. N and T are useful floaters. Yon takes D, I, and T after it, not an S. Now my H. Let me put this back. If I played off just H and N, I would be retaining a massive 5-letter set of tiles. So, where does H and N play? I think Horal is good. Horal is good, but Hown isn't. 14 minutes on my clock. H and N. Well, what a shame. Well, I do have it here, and I'm minded to play this. Inter is just so good, and row N is a pretty good bingo lane. And if I draw an O, well, there's only one, but I do have, the C is still available as a floater. Now, what did 9th score? Only 22, so I'm only sacrificing 10 points, and I'm retaining a Rackley, which is definitely 10 points better than just ER. I am going with this. That hasn't worked out. I've drawn F and P. They lack synergy, and the F is non-bingo-y. However, I do still have a 110-point lead. Now, is Poral good? Because if it is, I've got Poof and Poral, which would be really nice because I'd be retaining that really good 5-letter rack leave, and I'd be scoring well. Small possibility Poral isn't good. I'll check that now. I think it should be. Yeah. Great, opponent doesn't block that spot. Poof for 25. Great, and this looks really bingo-y. This demonstrates the utility of Inter as a 5-letter set. Quite a few 7-letter bingos with this rack, but do any of them play? Opponent has obstructed or taken out row N, replaced it with a less useful bingo lane in row M. So what do I have? Cantia, well, nothing beginning with C works, so that's Cantia, certain, Crinate. What about Nacrite? That doesn't play. A doesn't go in front of D, E. What else is there? There are a couple of other bingos there. And are there any other lanes? It would be nice to have a bingo in my back pocket. Well, there's row E for a bingo beginning with a vowel, A or E. Tacrine, that's one more anagram. Well, that doesn't play. There's nothing beginning with C. Oh, well, absolute. It's just the I which goes in front of DE that I've got. Now, opponent's created no new floaters or lanes, which is a shame. So, do I have anything beginning N, R, or T followed by I? No, I don't. Is there really nothing with this rack plus a C? It could begin CA or CE. Wow, this is so frustrating. My lead has shrunk to under 100 points. I don't have anything to hook Oi. Well, now do I have anything beginning with the A? No. Okay, well, I'm going to have to admit defeat with this beautiful rack. And breaking it up is going to be a tragedy. How many tiles are left? 25. How many vowels? 10 out of 32. Quite vowel dry. Yes, 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 yes. I think I have acentric. Wow. Is this good? I think it is. Acentric 77. Bang! Fantastic. I spent all my time looking for a bingo beginning with C, and then was just thinking about words with 2 C's in them to make char and CC, and I alighted upon acentric. Wow, that would have been, well, it would have been fairly painful to miss, but I would have forgiven myself readily. I think it's quite tricky to spot, but I did get there in the end, and now I have a substantial lead. Wow. And does acentric have an anagram? And does it take an S? I think yes to the second of those questions. Wow. God, I'm still reeling from that bingo playing. Wow, and look at this. Opponent had a bingo and a fantastic rack. So it could easily have been the case that I missed my bingo and opponent got his down. And then the complexion of the game would have been far different from what it is. As it stands, opponent has bingoed, but I still retain a 100-point lead. Just 11 tiles in the bag, including only 3 vowels, so I need to nurse and nurture my vowels. So where can I play my W for score? Iwi is good. So the best I can do there is we. I've got N, NO at the top, retaining the W for score. 20 points, quite good. Can I do better? 10 minutes on my clock. Yao is good. Opponent is really unlikely to bingo. If he does bingo, he's still going to lose, I think. The trouble with playing anything down column 11 with the W is that it will provide easy scoring spots for opponent. So, what to do here? Well, how about row M? I can play 1 in this spot for 18 points. Not massively dangerous. There is a bingo lane in row L, but that just replaces the one I've taken out. And this rack leave, in the context of an extremely vowel dry bag, is pretty good. I'm going with this. Wow, I draw the second blank. And look at the rest of this rack. Only the Q as a problem tile. And I can play just the Q above the I of leverates. Will that be blocked? If I can play just the Q, then the remaining rack is unbelievably bingo-y. And look at this, the S hook for eccentric remains available. It may not take an S, but I think it may. Or I think it does. But as with so many things in Scrabble, if it doesn't, it will be because there is a similar word which does. And I'm not thinking about the word eccentric. There's definitely some variant on that which takes an S, and I think it's this particular play. I don't think I have a bingo on my rack at the moment. The blank would almost certainly need to be a U. I would have a quarren through an O. Well, no O's to come. So how are we doing for time? 8 minutes for opponent, 9 for me. We've both got plenty of time. Supposing Chi is blocked, what then? Well, there's nowhere else on the board I can play just the Q. What about spots for QI or Chin? Well, I'm not sure there is anywhere, which would be a shame. Great. I think Meng takes an E and an S. Certainly takes an S, I think. Does the G give me a bingo? Well, close. I think quite earring is good. Well, that might have an extra E in it. So I'm not seeing anything great there. Chi for 11. And I draw an I, which isn't a good pickup in the sense of it improving the bingo prospects of my rack. It is good in that it makes the remaining tiles even more unbalanced, which is good because it means opponent has fewer scoring options, particularly with the big tiles, and certainly far fewer bingo-y options. Now, I haven't given up on bingoing with this rack. I have Grania in column 13. What else do I have? Do I have anything which plays in row L? That would be a 7-letter play. So I have Inertia, that plays. So I should be bingoing. Will opponent empty the bag? If he does, should be bingoing out and collecting a ton of points on countback. Now with 2 S's to come, I wonder if opponent is contemplating pluralizing eccentric and maybe playing off an X or a Z. If he does, I may have a column 15 bingo. Certainly if he plays sax, I would have inertia in column 15. Now, opponent doesn't do that. He doesn't empty the bag. He doesn't play in column 14. So I have Grania. Is there any point in looking for something better? The X is out there. The I is next to a double letter square. How much do I care about that? Not massively. Because there's the X spot. Well, there isn't, though, because opponent doesn't have a vowel to go underneath the W. So perhaps I can do better than Grania. And do I have an alternative play to inertia in row L? Let me just have a look through the alphabet and see what comes to mind. Denarii, Dode, not good. I'm just wondering if I have a play in column 14, which hooks U, Z, and Meng. So I'm looking for 7s. Airline. Well, that has similar problems to inertia. I feel there's one here, but it hasn't come to mind. Rainier. Ah, well, gosh, having seen Grania, I do actually have Rainier in row L, and I'm not going to find anything better than this because it doesn't take any hooks. And although the I is above the double word square, opponent can't get his X to score twice in that spot. I am going with this. And I draw the final vowel, so opponents had a bit of a rough time vowel-wise. Look at this collection of 6 tiles, 7 tiles rather. Now, what can I do with AT? I can play tar, ut, and zar. 15 points. Can I do any better than that? Tar and teen, 20. Anything even better? Ita and want, 12. No, so it's just tar and teen, or ut, tar, and zar. Opponent has 5 minutes to decide what to do with this rack. I suspect he'll be looking for somewhere to play his X. Let me, out of interest, check eccentrics. Yeah, that is good. But I don't think that helps opponent at this time. All he's got is just playing the S there. I'm not seeing anywhere great for opponent to play his X. He does have the Eye of Rainier, but he has 6 in that spot. Yeah, possibly Dixie. Definitely Dixie, rather. Onto a T, he would have Zist. No floating T's available. Well, he doesn't play his X, elects to go for score with buy for 27. Nothing better than tar available for me, so tar for 20. And the final score, 337 for my opponent, 523 for me, a winning margin of 186 points, so a huge, huge win. Let's see what I missed. Always good to get over 500. And a big spread. So it was me to go first, and this was a really... Was it me to go first? It wasn't. This is opponent's rack. He plays Aura. Phew, no missed bingo here. This felt very close to one. And I play OU for 4, keeping Coits. I could have got 12 more points for Coot. Is Coits 12 points better than ISU? I would say it is. ISU, I would say, is probably worth about +2 or 3, and Coits maybe pushing 15, so I think there is a 12-point difference there. Opponent's rack. No bingo, looks close. Royal Eyes through an I. Plays Loy. And now I have Citators, that is the only bingo. Opponent has a lot of vowels, which may have contributed to the vowel drought later. Plays IO. I play Auk for 36, and that's certainly better than Oik. Opponent's rack. Wow, some missed bingos here. Rarities and Ariaris, and opponent changes. He could have got 82 points, but Ariaris, quite a difficult one to spot. Now, this is my rack, and I played Jiao for 37, which looks fine. Opponent does now bingo, and I'm able to come straight back with weighted, and wow, look at that. Just the 2 bingos available. Opponent plays Beam, and I play Full for 37. Quite a nice pickup. No bingo. Opponent plays Meted, and now I have Thinner, but nowhere for it. And I play Hin for 13, keeping Inter. L2. Thin for 25, so I sacrificed 12 points to add TE to INR, and I think that's worth it. INR is quite nice, probably worth about 4 or 5 points, but Inter, I would say, is pushing 20. So I think 15 points better, and I'm only sacrificing 12 points in score. Opponent's rack. Plays Aped, and now I have Poof for 25, which is really nice, decent score, great rack leave. Wow, missed bingo, difficult one to see. Averaged E7. Look at that, very difficult to spot, not so much the word, but the position, even if you consider row E to be a bingo lane. By nature, you're likely to consider bingos beginning with a tile between the S and the D rather than all the way across in the Citators play. So, easy word, but difficult to spot in the context of this board. Opponent plays Grav. And here we go. Acentric was the only bingo. And imagine how one would have felt if this was the moment when you saw the bingo and it had been missed in game time. I don't know why this has such an impact on me. I normally roll with it a little better. I think I was just so close to not seeing it, and it made such a difference in terms of securing the win. Anyway, opponent responded really well with a bingo of his own. However, I'm so far ahead that the win is pretty much assured. And now I play 1 at the bottom with an eye on the remaining vowel pool. So, although there are more points available, this was very much a strategic play rather than a score and rack leave one. And look at this, no vowels at all for opponent. Plays Meng. Sank for 30, B13. Yeah, quite nice, 30 points. However, I think Chi is a better play. I think Chi will sim better. I am going to bingo a huge amount of the time after playing QI, after playing Sank. I will bingo a lot, but not as much, so my money would be on Chi being a better play. Opponent has drawn a vowel, a solitary U, plays Cuz, and now here we go. I have Rainier for 72, but it also plays in the same spot for 71, and when this happens I usually manage to find a lower scoring play. And I don't. Wow. Okay. My fortunes have changed. Opponent's hasn't. He's back to his all-consonant rack. There's Dixie. He plays by. And finally, Tar for 20 was best. So, what a game. Really good fun, and just a massive sort of bloodbath sort of game, which happens fairly regularly and are always enjoyable. I had both blanks. The board was wide open. I managed to get 4 bingos down, and I think the key one was eccentric in terms of establishing a massive lead. Anyway, many thanks to my opponent for a good game. I hope you enjoyed watching that game, and I will see you next time.